Hello, BookTube. I've got a little book haul for you here. Michael K. Vaughan is visiting. We're having a wonderful time. And one of the fringe benefits I sometimes get from guests is that sometimes they have rental cars. I don't drive. I've never sat behind the wheel of a car in my life, but cars do give you freedom to go to some places that I wouldn't ordinarily go, or it would be a big deal. I would just talk myself out of it. Although what cars giveth, cars taketh away. Mike and I did a video yesterday, I think it was. Time is blurring, but we did a video yesterday about going to a great comic shop in Harvard Square across the river in Cambridge. And it was so great, Million Year Picnic is the name of the place, that we thought we'd go back today. And Cambridge defeated us when it came to parking. Almost completely defeated us. We got there, we found a parking spot, we went to the Harvard bookstore, which is where I got the books I'm going to show you, and we thought, well, we'll go from there to the Million Year Picnic and explore it again in a little more detail. But not only did our parking spot run out of time, it's all done with an app now. Do you people know this? It's all done with an app. And the app let Mike know, while we were in the Harvard bookstore, the app let him know that his time was up and that he only had that time. He couldn't renew it. Move on. Just move on. We don't want your car sitting here any longer than 30 minutes. So, which is fine. That meant that I was done at the Harvard bookstore, but that meant we had to find another parking spot to go to Million Year Picnic. And we couldn't. We couldn't. The city of Cambridge defeated us. After 5 or 6 hours, or it might have been 5 or 6 days, of us driving around endlessly looking for a spot, just thought, life's too short. We're just going to cancel these plans. So we did not go back to the Million Year Picnic. But I was at the Harvard bookstore. That was long enough for me to do a book haul. In case you were wondering, Michael K. Vaughan did not get any books at the Harvard bookstore. But I did. I got a few, and I wanted to show them to you. The first one is a Penguin mass market paperback. I had this once upon a time eons ago. I was amazed to see it. The Harvard bookstore it's a terrific store. It's an indie store. It's not the Harvard Coop. A lot of people think that. A lot of people think it's part of Harvard University. It's not. It's an indie bookstore, and a really good one. You got a new store on the first floor, tons and tons of new releases, and also those shelf talkers for staff picks. That's a dying thing in retail bookstores. You got a ton of those in the Harvard bookstore. And also one of the greatest remainder sections of any bookstore, where you've got tons and tons of titles from last year, or that are just on a great deal that you can get just piled on those tables. And then downstairs, the whole downstairs is another bookstore, and it's all used. So I found this downstairs, and most of the used books that are downstairs are not vintage. This one was. I don't know what caught my mind. But this is Laurie Lee. I don't know how many of you will know Laurie Lee. I don't know how well Laurie Lee is remembered, maybe outside of Canada. This is I Can't Stay Long. This is the I believe the UK edition. There was another Penguin mass market of I Can't Stay Long with a completely different cover. This is it's hard to describe this author. Very meditative, autobiographical sketches, very beautiful prose. As I Walk Down a Midsummer Evening, I Can't Stay Long, and a couple of others. Laurie Lee had a collection of literary bits and pieces, mostly Deadline nonfiction. I had that forever and ever. I think I probably still do. But I had this copy once upon a time, eons ago. Well, probably when this came out. Let's see when this edition came out. That's probably when I did this. Yeah, 1975. This edition probably came out in 1975 or 76. That's probably when I had this. I loved it. I love this author. But I never see his work anywhere, so I grabbed it. Then I got what I think is a double. I'm pretty sure this is a double. I will check. I hear a siren. How amazing. Again, keep in mind, for you soft-hearted empaths out there is no actual emergency. The emergency is that the driver wants a grilled chicken sandwich at the sandwich shop at the intersection and doesn't want to wait for the light. That's all. That's all that there is there. It's no emergency. No one's hurt. No one's dying. But I've mentioned this book before many times. I actually love it. I'm going to check to see whether or not this is a double. And if it's a double, I'm going to try and convince Michael K. Vaughan to take it, because I think he'd really like it if he hasn't read it. This is Maurizio De Giovanni. This is I Will Have Vengeance. This is Commissario Ricciardi is the character. This is mid-century, mid-20th century Naples. He's a police commissioner. He has men that work on his squad. And there are crimes that he has to solve, and he has to deal with his superiors and with the shifting political landscape. And one other thing. Commissario Ricciardi can talk to dead people. But not in the sense of I can just hold seances, I can talk all I want to dead people. He can't talk to them, but they can talk to him. But they can only tell him their last thought. The last thing they said. Over and over again. They can't elaborate on it. They can't give him any clues other than that. But he can't help but see them. He doesn't summon them. He sees them everywhere. And that's all he can ever learn from them. It is often enough to help with a crime. It often is. There's a scene, often it has nothing to do with crimes. When he's walking down the street, he's a haunted individual, as you can tell. He's walking down the street one time. A little boy comes up to him with a caved-in chest and blood foaming at his mouth. And all he's saying over and over again is, "Mommy, can I play outside?" And you, the reader, draw the inference of what happened when they did. When he got a yes, he died. So he's just repeating that over and over again. At one point, Ricciardi goes with his men to a crime scene. There's a dead woman on the floor. They see a dead woman, but he sees also her alive, smiling, and saying, "You're the last person I expected to see." That sort of thing, where the dead are not trying to help him. They don't know he's there. But sometimes that gives him an edge enough to figure out where to inquire or where to start his investigation. It's wonderfully, wonderfully done. So I'm going to see if I have... I couldn't pass it up. I never see it. So I'm going to see if I have it. If I don't, I'm going to try and give it away. Then, as long as we're dealing with Europa editions, I found another Europa edition. I may have got this from Europa edition. I get a lot of what they sent. But what was this? There may be a book haul on this channel where this... Oh no, 2014. This may have been before I had this channel. It seemed interesting to me, so I grabbed it. It's a nice big thing. It's Hervé Lecoeur, After the War, translated from the French by Sam Taylor. Nice big thick thing. I really like the sound of it. What do we got here? I also like Europa editions. I think they're just lovely. 1950s Bordeaux is a city scarred by the memory of World War II. Meanwhile, across the sea, another war has already begun. The young men of France are sent in droves to Algeria, where they wage brutal battle in a conflict so new it has yet to be given a name. Albert Darlac, a corrupt police chief, fascist sympathizer, and one-time collaborator, will soon discover that not everyone has forgiven or forgotten his wartime crimes. 20-year-old Daniel has heard the stories of massacres and mutilations, of ambushes and patrols played out under a burning North African sun. The atrocious loss of his parents and sister during World War II continues to haunt him. A series of explosive events will bring the destinies of these two men together. So that sounds really good. I don't remember if I ever read it. From about 2017 on, I was getting pretty much everything that Europa editions did, but I don't know. So we shall see. Now, this next one I did read when it came out. And I read it. I liked it. I've never seen it in the wild since. So I grabbed it. It is a steampunk fantasy, I guess you could say. It's called Dead Iron by Devin Monk. Do any of you know this book? The main character is a werewolf. Sometimes. I mean, he's a human, but he can become a werewolf. Let's see what we have here. See if you... It's a Steam Age America. So it's steampunk fantasy, I guess you could say. Although the devisers have civilized the East with their contraptions, civilization hasn't tamed the frontier that bounty hunter Cedar Hunt rides. His name is Cedar Hunt. If I remember correctly, that's not the only lazy naming in this book. Cursed by lycanthropy and carrying the guilt of his brother's death, he's a hard man for hire. But when a trio of miners offers him the possibility that his brother may yet survive, Cedar isn't going to haggle for payment. All he has to do for them is find a holder, a powerful device created by mad devisers in the realm of the strange, with a capital S. The holder is in the hands of Shard LaFell. See what I mean? I don't think that's all either. I think the names throughout this book are really lazy. A dandified railroad tycoon who has come to Hallelujah, Oregon. All right, settle down there, Devin. Promising a civilized tomorrow. But what Cedar doesn't know is that LaFell is an ancient strange banished to walk this land for centuries. Now nearing the end of his sentence, LaFell is desperately searching for a way to fend off his own mortality, and the holder may be the key. I remember liking this. I bought this with money. I wasn't in the reviewing trade. Yeah, 2011. I had to go into a store and buy this like a common bridge troll, but I remember liking it. So I don't know if this author ever wrote anything else, but I happily reread this. Happily. Didn't know it was coming. Plus, it's kind of fantasy. I mean, there's supernatural beings, there's a werewolf, and I am still trying to buy my way into the affections of fantasy booktube, so this kind of counts. And then we move to straight-up science fiction. I did not know that this omnibus edition existed. I could not resist. Found it absolutely irresistible. This is Peace and War by Joe Haldeman. This is his 3 war novels in one sturdy book. It's the price tag on the front. See, the reason why the others didn't have a price tag is because this was actually a remainder, not a secondhand book on the shelves in the secondhand shop. That's why it has the sticker on the front, and all the other remainders did too. But this is 3 volumes in one. So what have we got here? The Forever War will be in here. Obviously, that's his masterpiece. What are the other 2 in the War trilogy? Forever Peace and Forever Free. Okay, so he did the Forever War in 1974, when he had a war, one particular war, in mind. And then he waited a long time. I think he realized that it was his best regarded book, that and All My Sins Remembered, and then went back to it. And so in the 90s, he did Forever Peace and Forever Free. And that's what this is. That's what this volume is, just those 3 books. I don't have them. I haven't had them since I had them as Timescape mass market paperbacks, and what's the chance that I will ever find those? So I grabbed this because it's been a long time. I like All My Sins Remembered, but it's been a long time since I read his straight-up military science fiction, which is the best military science fiction there is. I hate to say that because I love Glenn Cook, John Marco, but I don't think it gets any better than Joe Haldeman when he's really on his game, and these 3 books he is. So there you go. That was this thing had my receipt and also a bookmark because the Harvard Bookstore was training incoming freshmen at the registers. They were training incoming freshmen, so it was a manager type, judging by the combination of uselessness and arrogance. I'm assuming it was a manager type, was standing there training this poor young girl who was at the register, and they were talking about, you have to do this and you have to do that, and I felt like saying, no, young lady, don't pay any attention to this manager. What you have to do is what you're not doing, which is to greet the customer who's standing right in front of you. Don't let him stand there while you get points of instruction. Ignore the manager in order to say, hello, nice to see you. I didn't say that, but I wanted to. And when the young woman said, do you want your receipt? I said no. And when the young woman said, do you want a bookmark? I said no. And they're both in the books. Maybe she'll learn, maybe not. Or maybe it's the Harvard Bookstore way to teach the people at the registers to be rude to the customers. We'll see. We'll see. If I ever go back, we'll see. So that was my book haul. A pretty good book haul that was followed by frustration. We have, look at that, Peace and War. Joe Haldeman. I could not turn this down. I've never seen it before. Then Dead Iron, A Second Chance after more than a decade. After the War, after World War II, meaning here, the fact that some of the book might be set in the Algerian War, that's pretty interesting to me. And Alistair Horn's great book on the Algerian War was there in the used section, but I already have it as an ebook, and I've read it a number of times, so I left it. Then I Will Have Vengeance, which the title of the book is actually something that Richard hears a dead person say over and over again. I will have vengeance. And he doesn't know quite what it means. Is the dead person saying, I will somehow avenge my murder even though I'll be dead? Or is the dead person who is in the opera world quoting from a famous opera? Or is it both? And then Laurie Lee, I Can't Stay Long. How wonderful to find that. Don't mind that it's a mass market paperback. I don't have any Laurie Lee as ebooks. So there you go. That was a little haul. Mike and I were hoping for a larger, glorious haul, but Cambridge defeated us. The city defeated us. It was full of no parking spots. It was full of tow zones. It was full of something I learned today is called floating parking. It was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. So eventually we just gave up. but there may be further installments. We'll see. Who knows what we'll do tonight or tomorrow. So I'll wrap this up for now. I don't know if I'll have a book haul tomorrow. And I also don't know if mail is coming today. No mail has shown up yet. So there, many videos could be in the future. But I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.